In that specific situation, I mean, I think that Hannibal has been doubting Will for a long time. It's been a cat and mouse game. He knows that something is up. But eventually, Will convinces Hannibal that he's in the same boat. And that's where Hannibal becomes a little vain. He loses on his vanity. He starts believing it, and he's letting down his arms. And all of a sudden, he smells fragrance, and that is a big, big surprise to Hannibal. It's a betrayal beyond anything he's ever seen. And so he did not see that coming. It is a big betrayal.
Right there.
I heard there may be a Hannibal cookbook coming out. And did you get to have input on any of the recipes? If that's the case.
A Hannibal cookbook coming out, you heard, and do I have any impact on the recipes? 20 minutes ago I heard about that book as well. And honestly, I think we made jokes about it, we talked about it, but to be honest, what are we going to expect from that book, you know? I mean, we can make a cool and funny book, but out of 10,000 people out there, somebody's going to do the right thing, right? Oh, so we take some human flesh, I'll do that. You know, I think it's a dangerous project. It can be funny and interesting, but honestly, there will be somebody out there who goes, yeah, I like that dish. You know? So we will definitely have to discuss this before we do it.
Right there.
I was wondering, I know you try not to bring your characters home with you, but do you, since playing Hannibal, look at people a little differently now? Like somebody bumps into you walking down the street, doesn't you're like, oh, you're dinner. You know, maybe with his morals, kind of look at people differently at all?
Do I look at people differently after playing Hannibal? I mean, it's my level of patience in a different place. To be honest, rude people has always annoyed me my whole life. So in that sense, it's not changed. If people are rude, I mean, bumping into people is not necessarily rude. Doing it deliberately or being just annoying. Sometimes you wish you were in a film, right? And you could do exactly what he's doing. So there's not a big difference for me and Hannibal in that sense. Actually, yes. No, I mean, I don't look at people differently. I mean, it's a character thing, but you learn from every character, right? Hopefully, I learned the good things from this guy and not the bad things.
Right there. Yeah. How did you get interested in and involved in acting?
I was. It's kind of been a coincidence my whole life. Whatever happened to me, Originally, I was a gymnast as a kid and as a teenager, and I was all of a sudden asked, together with some other gymnasts, if I wanted to be part of a musical where we should jump around in the background and do somersaults and stuff. And then we did a lot of things in that musical. We even played a little. We did some dancing, and then the choreographer asked if I wanted to learn the craft of dancing. I had nothing else to do, so I became a dancer, and I was a professional dancer for 8-9 years. And then I got a little bored with that. I fell in love with the drama of dancing instead of the aesthetic of dancing, and I applied for a drama school, but it was kind of coincidentally everything. I thought, until I was 26, I thought that being an actor, you had to have parents who were actors. That's the way it works. And I didn't know they were in schools, so it happened as a coincidence for me.
Right there in the back. Yep, you. Yep.
I'm sorry, I don't want to keep asking questions. I was wondering, you were just talking about like Hannibal's, like he has a little bit of humanity, and you were talking about Will's relationship with him. Well, does Hannibal actually have like a sincere, genuine humanity towards Will, or is it just a facade that he's sort of?
The question is, does Hannibal actually really care about Will?
Yeah, it's a good question in the sense that people will ask themselves when they watch it, obviously, is he playing a game? Is this another game? If you ask me, there are no games. Hannibal never plays a game. Hannibal is as honest as they come. He is full of empathy. He loves Will. He loves Jack Crawford. He loves his wife. And he also is full of empathy in the sense that he can get quite emotional. He can be sad. He can be happy. But as opposed to Will, who also is full of empathy, Will cannot control it. He is in the mercy of his empathy. He has no control. Hannibal has complete control. He decides when he wants to be happy. He decides when he wants to be sad. So that is obviously very different. But in terms of feelings, we decided, together Brian and me and the director, that we didn't want him to play sad and then do the little smirky laugh afterwards. We thought that was just going to get us nowhere. We wanted him to be sad. And for that reason, he can persuade people, because he's so good at persuading people that he's actually honest. That doesn't mean that his master plan is crazy. It is. But it does mean that he's full of empathy in our version.
Right there.
So we're going to go along with the question how you became an actor. When you made the Pusher movies, did you know at that time that you want to be an actor for the rest of your career, or what was your mindset when you made this?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I mean, I graduated after 4 years of drama school. And you often hear people asking, so you want to be an actor the rest of your life? But yeah. You don't ask other people who had 4 years of graduation or something, so, okay, doctor, you want to be a doctor always? Yeah, I mean, so yes, of course, we all want to be actors when we do school for 4 years. Whether we make it or not is a big question. That's 95% of all actors don't work. That's the terrible thing about our job. If you do work, it's a fantastic job. If you don't, it sucks. That's how our job is. But I had a feeling, I had a hunch. I loved what we did in that film. I had a feeling that we were doing something different that we'd never done back home before. And I was part of something unique happening in my country. So there was no doubt in my mind that I would always do this. But then again, I've never been afraid of like, oh, nothing happens. I would definitely find something else to do. And there's a lot of jobs out there that are interesting. A chef, maybe.
Right there in the back. Yep.
Out of all the films you've been in, which one was the most difficult to like get into character for?
Which film was the most difficult to what? Sorry, to be in character for? What?
Yes.
Yeah. As I mentioned before, if it's badly written, it's difficult. So the things that we watch that might look heartbreaking or very intense are not necessarily the most difficult films to do. Which one would that be? I mean, there are certain films that can be technical difficult or be emotional difficult, but there's been a few Danish projects. I was doing a TV show in Denmark when I was in the beginning of my career, and that was extremely difficult. Not that it was technically difficult, I just thought it sucked. So it was so difficult for me to go to work every day. I just couldn't grasp it. I didn't understand why they wanted to write that kind of shit, you know. So so we kept changing it, and we changed it, and they allowed us to do it. And after a year, I kind of realized I should relax and just live with what's happening and do my best and change as much as I could, but not be frustrated. Because it's one of those shows where you want people who are 5 years old and 95 years old to watch it. That means that it's going to be in the middle of the road. Your character can be happy, but not that happy. He can bleed, but he can't bleed that much. So it's not radical. And I came from a place where everything was extremely radical, so I got frustrated. I don't think what we did sucked, but I felt it at the time because I came from somewhere else. So that was difficult for me.
The lady in the back right there. Yep.
Do fans ever approach you on the street like this, really are Hannibal, or like what's the wildest thing that you when you're out and about?
The question is, what's the craziest thing someone has come up and said to him thinking he's Hannibal?
I believe, actually we had that conversation out in the hallway just now. I mean, I believe if you were J.R. Ewing in the early 80s, you might have a problem because people had a hard time dividing fiction and reality, right? Today, fortunately, people know that you're an actor. But I have heard stories, crazy stories back in the 60s and 70s where people will throw stones at certain actors. Not because they sucked, just because they were evil in the show, right? And that is obviously very scary. I mean, people are 99.9% of the time really nice. They rarely line up to say you suck. You know, but if they do, they really mean it, and then you have to give them credit for that as well.
Right there.
Hey, you've developed a bit of a following, definitely online with websites like Tumblr and Twitter. Do you ever get online to read some of the things that people post about you? And if you could say something to your fans that weren't able to come here this weekend, what would you tell them?
Well, I can definitely tell I love all my fans. Those are the coolest fans in the world. They're clever people. So, I mean, without our fans, there will be no show. So we owe them everything. Do I go on the internet and Twitter thingy? I have no idea what it is. I am a man from the former millennium. I have a hard time opening my cell phone. I think life is very difficult with the new technology. And for that reason, I got 2 kids, so they can figure it out for me, right? One of the reasons, but the main reason is that they're good at stuff like that, right? So no, I don't. I don't go on Facebook or Twitter, or I've never done that. I have a handful of friends back home I rarely see, and I'm not necessarily eager to get a couple of thousand new friends that I don't see. But I am grateful for all the fans around the world, and we will, in the production company, we make days where we sit down and talk to the fans, and I'm grateful that the production company does that, because I would be helpless doing it myself.
Right there.
I know that in Hannibal, a large part of your character is the costumes, the suits, obviously. But if you're going to look a bit heavy, they look unbreathable, and you find it hard to work with certain costumes or avoiding like the cooking scenes, getting them dirty. Like, how do you work around such difficult costumes?
Well, costumes are costumes. I mean, I think that they're nothing compared to women dresses, right? I mean, they're very difficult. Not that I've been wearing one, but I have a hunch. It's a three-piece suit thing, and they're not that difficult to walk around in. I think it's also the stature of Hannibal, the way he moves. It's a deliberate choice of the actor, being me, that he walks the way he walks, and moves the way he moves. As you can see, when he's in the kitchen, he's a little more freed. He's always in a shirt, and then he gets young with the young people, and he rolls up his sleeves. And all of a sudden, his gray hair's gone. So he's definitely adapting to whatever situation he's in, but he loves his three-piece suit. He would find it extremely rude not to be wearing that in official situations. But costumes, in this case, are definitely not difficult. They're actually a helping hand. I've been in other shows, films, where the costumes were unbelievable. I mean, you could not move, you could not do anything, and you had to fix this. That's crazy, of course, but that's why we make the big bucks.
Right there.
Future seasons of Hannibal, how do you imagine that Hannibal's behavior will change once he's been incarcerated? Because now, of course, unveiling things like gracious, but in the books and the movies, almost rude sometimes of how he treats those characters.
Yes, I mean, does his personality, behavior change once he's incarcerated? Who says he is incarcerated? He might be on the run for a lot of years. But you're right, I mean, there's a certain sense of he's a chameleon to this character, and I think that right now he is on the run. It's not a surprise for anyone, and where he's running towards, I'm not sure. It's hopefully someplace warm. But he will change. He will change his behavior in certain situations, but it will not change the base of the character. That will be strange, because, as I said before, he's not playing a role. He's not lying. This is also how he is. He will change it slightly, and eventually he will become a new character, maybe. Once he's incarcerated, I cannot imagine that he will be rude. I don't think he will be rude. He might say awful things that hurt people, but it's not going to be banalities just to be rude. He might hurt people really bad, but that's not rude, that's just intelligent.
There.
Are there any stories or characters that you've always wanted to play, or any sort of genre that you haven't been able to do yet that you're dying to do?
No, I don't have a little Hamlet inside of me that is eager to come out. I understand a lot of people have that. I don't have that. Every time I meet a director who has a dream, it becomes my dream and it becomes my new dream role. So no, that's not the case. If there's any historical character I would like to play, I like Genghis Khan. I think there has not been a real proper film about this whole the empire of the Mongols. I think Genghis Khan is a fantastic character, and I do have the cheekbones. So he was a little chubby though, maybe.
Right there, way in the back. Yeah.
Who designs your suits? I have people that are ready to sit down. Who designs your suits on the show?
So this is the question: who designed my suits? This is the question where I will get myself killed, because I can't remember his name. And he will probably watch this and I'm done, right? There's a couple of people that's been in. I mean, that we have a fantastic guy who's called Chris, who's taking care of the wardrobe, and he's designing to a degree, but he's also working with a real tailor. So there's a couple of people that's working on this, but exactly one name, I don't know. Chris? Maybe it's Chris.
See, right there. Yep.
She just brought up something that made me think. Is it Brian Fuller's intention to still do Red Dragon in season 4?
Red Dragon is, I guess, already part of his ideas in season 3, and has been. I mean, Brian is being inspired by all the books, and he's creating his own universe for 2 different reasons. First, it's smart. It's smart to go your own path. Make another character do what another character did in the books, but we will still get some hints that, oh, that's still Hannibal, right? Secondly, he does not have the rights to all the books, so he has to change names and situations in certain situations. But I'm sure that we will get into Red Dragon and Hannibal already in this season.
Right there in the hat.
Where would you like to see Hannibal go? Like, get down to the last episode, where do you see the character ending? Or where would you like to see it?
Yeah, what do I?
Where would you like to see it?
You're talking to the actor here, right?
Yeah.
Who really likes to get a nice tan. So, no, I think that it would be interesting to see him maybe go back to where he came from, which is Lithuania, and try to see what was his birth town, what was the place he was brought up. Could be interesting to bring him back to Lithuania. It's close to Russia.
Right there, with your hand up. Yep.
TV shows are often filmed for a lot longer than movies are. Is there any way you have to change how you act or approach a character from filming from weeks to months versus years as Hannibal could potentially go?
The actual work for an actor, we don't go in and play it differently in front of the camera. But obviously the process is a little different. Got some music in here, right? The background music. We work with the writer in a different way. Obviously, when you make a film, you get a script from A to Z. You know what's happening. You start working on that. You ask some questions. In this case, we can start the season not exactly knowing where we're ending. So we're a little kept in the dark. At the same time, we have a hunch, but we're not 100% sure. And you also see this slower developments in characters on TV than you will see on films. They have 90 minutes. We have a lot of minutes to do that. So I think the work is not different. The process is a little different.
Right there by the door.
So during season 2, where was Abigail Haas the whole time?
In my basement. Obviously, we saw what he's capable of. We saw that with the young FBI agent who was left probably in my basement as well for a long, long time. And I dig her out and I place her in a well. So I'm sure that they've been sitting there together playing cards on some psychedelic drug. But I definitely have a very big basement.
See right there?
I wanted to know, who are your acting and director idols? Have you worked with anybody that are your idols as yet or would like to?
Well, the ones I grew up with and I was fascinated by, I've not had the chance to work with any of them. A lot of the people I've worked with so far has become my friends and my idols as well. And so I can't mention any of those. But I was grown up in this Martin Scorsese era of King of Comedy, Taxi Driver, so on. So I gotta mention those guys. I want all the actors in his films and Marty as well. I think it was a phenomenal period of filmmaking, brave period. And so if I got the chance to work with some of these guys, I'll be happy.
So we got time for about 2 or 3 more questions, right there.
Sometimes when filming, you might make a mistake and have to reshoot it. Did you ever have like a blooper kind of movie or scene where everyone started cracking up because someone did something outrageously funny?
Not me, no. It happens all the time, and sometimes it's just annoying. A lot of the time it's just annoying, but sometimes it is super funny. If the tension is extremely big, and people come in full of emotion, and they say the absolutely most ridiculous name instead of the name that you were supposed to say, but they couldn't hear it themselves, they take it serious, that's when people start cracking up, obviously, right? We had a few of those, I'm sure. Can't imagine I did it.
Let's see. Right there in the hat. Yep.
Jumping to Casino Royale, just kind of curious, what was it like working on that film, and what was it like working with Daniel Craig?
Well, both things was kind of big for me. That was by far the biggest thing I had done in the States at that time. Before that, I'd done King Arthur, which was a fantastic experience for me. But joining the Bond family was something I didn't really realize what it was. At the point I did the audition and the meeting, I had not seen a Bond film myself. And I was lying my ass off because they kept asking me questions, right? Like, so who's your favorite Bond villain? I kept like, the big guy? I had no idea what I was talking about, right? So, but later on in life I'd seen them all and I became a huge fan. But I did not realize how big it was when we did it until we actually had the opening premiere in London on Leicester Square, and there was literally 50,000 people there, and the Queen somewhere, and so I realized, oh, it's a big film.